Cool, so we're just going to be carrying on. So in our previous one, we just made this really basic sort of nothing fancy painted layer with a bit of roughness on there, because we don't want to try and attack this all in one layer. We want to sort of do it in multiple layers. So we've got our base paint, and what we can do is try out another one. So let's add a fill layer, and what this is going to do is going to completely overwrite everything. So what I'm going to do is just go to my smart masks, and you can create your own mask generators, but I think for this case we're just going to keep it fairly simple. And if you scroll over, you see you've got like cavity rust, and it gives you a good idea of what's going on here. Dirt heavy, leaking, dirt soft edges. And I think there is one that we want is just because you don't want to go for like the problem is with all these, they're too heavy-handed when you first open them up. So I don't want rust. So just have a look through. It's got spots, stains, surface worn. Let's try that. I'm going to click and drag and put that up to my fill layer. And you don't have to use these, you can use any one you want, but it'll give you a good idea of what's happening. So if we look at our surface worn, it's kind of not really what we want. So I'm going to undo that, and you might want to just try out. You've got paint old. Let's go with dusty stained. Cool. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to change my add a fill, and sometimes it's easier to turn it red so you can see just where it's all happening. Only as reference, because it just stands out a lot easier. So I'm just going to go to my mask editor here. I need to make things a lot easier, because now you've got all these sort of choices you can play with. So you've got your texture one. So the best thing you can do is just click and drag and see what's going on. You've got ambient occlusion. This is going to be driven from all your masks that you've baked out. So I'd imagine there's probably a fair bit of dirt in our... And we obviously don't want to add anything to our curvature, but it's fun to look at. We don't actually have a huge amount of stuff, but we want to make this really subtle. We don't want to be making it really obvious. Because even though it kind of looks dirty, it's just not like, it's a mixture of a lot of stuff going on here. So we want to kind of achieve that as well. So it's very, very light amounts. You can barely even really see it. But now I'm going to just change this to, so I'm just going to call this base paint stains. I'm just gonna color pick from here. Just make it a little bit darker. Very hard to see, but and because we can probably raise up our mask maybe a little bit to see what's going on. Cool, now you can see I'm a little bit clearer. And you can always go to where global balance, and you can just raise it up. It's a bit too much. We want to change. Oh, do we have this on a we're on UV protection, so make sure we're on triplanar, so that will probably help as well. Triplanar, just so we don't get any seams in here. We've got some pretty subtle stuff here, but we can see that we've got way more going on still. Looks a bit darker, so I'm going to add another layer. And I want to try and find let's just try that. Let's try the dirt. You can sort of see we're getting some pretty nice breakup of different stuff going on here. I'm not worrying about the inside of these eyes because I'm going to make some fake light blockers in here with the texture, so it's just pitch black basically. Change the scale of our texture just so it's a little bit more defined. Bring the contrast down because it's starting to break it up quite a bit in nice areas, but you just got to have a little play around with so under all these you still have a lot of other sort of selections you can use to sort of, it's hard to see, but you can see how it's sort of spreading out a bit more on our ambient occlusion. We're getting quite grubby now. But we're not actually making dirt. This is still going to be sort of rough paint. So I think that's all right. So we're going to go back to our paint layer, add a fill. I'm just going to go to triplanar. And we've got all these on. We're currently only using the color at the moment. So I'm not sampling the same colour, I just want to try and break it up a bit. We've got a roughness here that we can sort of play about with. Obviously you've got your height, but we probably don't want to really do anything with that really yet. You can add a tiny bit on, but we probably want to do that afterwards we've done. Cool. Let's make this a little bit not like dirty, but a little bit darker. Okay, we've got some pretty basic sort of dirt stuff going on here. So what we'll call this base paint stains matte, just because they're kind of like a bit more matte and taking away the roughness. And we're sort of breaking up the colour with very slight amounts of dirt. And honestly, I don't really like, I keep seeing that, I'm not really liking it. So I'm just going to go to my texture and hopefully cool, that's kind of got rid of it. Cool, so now we're actually going to go like put some actual dirt on there. So let's add another, because you notice I'm only using fill layers at the moment. Just so I can get a generic of it, then when we can start painting stuff on. So let's pick I think dirt cavities will be a good one. And you can sort of see exactly what this mask is now picking up on. And we'll just call this cavity dirt. And you can add a fill layer. And if you wanted to, you could go to your materials and pick a rust fine and stick rust in there if you wanted to. I don't particularly want to yet, because then that's going to add a sort of things that I don't really want onto it, to be honest. I want to try and avoid using the materials, just so it just gives you more chance to actually build on. There's nothing wrong with using these, but I'll try and just get used to sort of building your own materials. Cool. So we've got very heavy edgeware, which is one thing that you really, really want to avoid because it's really you see it everywhere, and it's a bit like not everything's like got bashed up edges and stuff like that. So the trick is with what I find with texturing is you need to be very subtle and build on it. Don't just like go wild straight away, because you've almost added nothing in there. You can barely see it, but it's all the tiny little things that will make a massive difference. Some of these you won't see until you've really like cranked them up. So if we just do top-down gradient, you can see it's been headbutting walls. And you can obviously flip that with the levels, but it's not that bad. And let's get rid of some of these. And that'll be our ambient occlusion in here. So we've got quite a bit of edge wear. A little bit too much. I only really want cool. I think that's probably subtle enough. Got very small bits. And we go down to our fill. We could probably make this a little bit more metallic. Even change our height on it. Very difficult to see at this sort of, oh, not that height, sorry. Probably extremely difficult to see at such a low resolution, but what we can do is just pop it up to 4K for now and just see what it looks like. Obviously, the more and more layers you get, the more time it's going to take to load. So you kind of want to leave it doing that stuff at the end. But you can see we get some quite nice breakup around here. We're still looking a little bit plastic. I think that's probably see how long it takes to reload. I don't think there's that much in there really. It's probably as low as 0.01. But you can see we're getting some nice, fairly nice detail here. And all we've done is just done fill layers. We've not done any custom painting yet. And you can see like how sluggish it can be to, we've just only updated that one value and it's still loading here. So unless you got like a super amazing computer, I would just like work on a much lower resolution. Cool. I'm going to put that back to 256 and we're going to see all the horribleness. We just have to trust that it's going to look like this afterwards, and you can keep checking, but I'm also going to save as. Cool, so we've kind of made some very basic sort of metal. I feel it could. The good thing about this is because our base paint is, I feel like we could be a tad darker. It's going to be different when we light it, but cool. So what should we do next? We could add, so when we look at this, I don't think there's any, probably is very slight bump on this, so we're going to go on to the fill. And on the height, I'm just going to 0.39. Just bring that down. Like, it's almost like you can't see it. So, oh. that. No, I don't want to do that. All right, so we've got this basic. Sorry, I'm just thinking for a second then. But so we've got something really basic, and we can test this out by going up to this little camera, and this will launch it in iRay. And this will give us a very basic representation of what we've got so far, without having to. Well, we're currently on the lower res, but so we zoom right in. I think we're only seeing the. We would have to. Switch back to our 4K. I thought it updated, but I don't think it does. Cool. Now I've got way more detail in here. Still not looking like the right color. It's looking a bit. I think that's probably also from the H strikes. It's looking very green as well. But just looking at here, we can see we're getting tons of detail and breakup here. And that's super close. We're never ever going to see it that close, so it's going to be like... So we might need to increase, just looking at it, increase some of our dirt size, 'cause it's probably looking a bit small and we can't really see it. So let's go into there and increase our dirt size. Oh, that's up here, isn't it? Oops. So it's that one. In fact, let's not edit what we've done. Let's just add another fill. And let's try different. What splash is? Let's try dirt spots. And we'll just call this large dirt. And you can play around with this and do. You can. It's just me showing you. I am no master at this, but it'll give you an idea if I'm just using it like Photoshop. Just going to give us some darker. Some more pronounced, larger dark parts. I'm just going to go to our texture. Just sort of play with the scale until I've got something that I like. Also make sure that you've got it on a triplanar. And maybe that's even add a noise. Obviously that's massive. Let's not do that. Probably just want a Perlin noise fractal, maybe. So let's actually go to 204 and see what that's actually doing, because I do keep forgetting that we do need to be on. We're not really going to see it if we're not on the right resolution. So you do have to sort of, you can see here though, that's pretty crazy. And we only want to put it. Let's try. Obviously, we're not going to, it's only that high, so we can sort of see the amount of. Let's bring the contrast right down. Just kind of got to play with it. So obviously this is quite big chunks in our head, which we don't really want. So what I'm going to do is add a levels. Just going to go to our height, invert that. Yeah. Cool. I think I went the wrong way. So we want it. Might even be too much. So let's go back to our levels height. And it adds a tiny bit of breakup. I know we're not going to see it that close up, but it gives it a bit more of a difference. We're on half now, so let's so we've got these. What is going on down here? That's not good. That's kind of what we want to do. Just want to change it in there. Just have a look at our array, see how that's looking. And we're not going to spend a huge amount of time on this and just kind of playing around, and we don't need to do a huge amount. But yeah. And I think we can just probably go on to a bit more custom stuff now. So let's try some paint stuff. You just want to kind of have a play around with it. Building your own materials, not really using the smart materials. But yeah, hopefully you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. Thank you.